It's great to be here with you on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, thanks for making us a part of your day. Hope you had a wonderful weekend, a good Easter weekend as well. We got so much to get to. Getting closer to the NFL draft. Of course, we had spring games. Good to see Georgia fans and Bama fans going at one another on the social media saying, hey, this is my third string tight end, Eric Gilbert. And then they're like, well, this is our backup quarterback. I'm like, and as Ben would say, that's a lot of swole-looking guys who haven't played yet.
Yes.
Is basically all that means at the end of the day. So we'll get to that coming up in just a little bit. Hour 2, we're going to talk with Buzz Saunders, former Valdosta State wide receiver and McIntosh County Academy wide receiver, getting ready. He's got obviously graduated from Valdosta State, getting ready for potential career after college football in the pros. So we'll talk to him about that journey, and won a national championship at Valdosta State, played for another one this past season. Of course, went through the COVID year. So we'll get to all that with him coming up in hour number 2. But Ben, it's Braves and Dodgers. It's finally here. We'll get to see Freddie Freeman in that disgusting Dodger blue tonight. And I know much has been made about every little thing regarding Freddie Freeman. From, look, he could have been here. The Braves offer him a fair contract, especially when you look at what he signed with the Dodgers. Then you have I just sat in the corner for 2.5 hours and didn't talk because I couldn't believe I wasn't going to be an Atlanta Brave. And I was like, well, bro, you had a chance. To Ronald Acuna saying, me and Freddie, we weren't necessarily boys. He didn't dig the way I played. To, Dansby Swanson saying, hey, man, nobody should wear number 5. I sit there and stare at that empty locker over there. It's like, I think this starts the closure process. I just mentioned it to PJ, Ben. I think if this was in Atlanta, it might go a little differently, because obviously Freddie's going to get his ring when he comes to Atlanta. But I think it's still fresh that if this was Atlanta tonight, I think he gets maybe a 60-40 booing there by Atlanta. You go ahead and play this series. You see him wearing Dodger blue and this and that. It's on the road, so you're not going to have a full. I think by the time the Dodgers come to Atlanta in July, it's like, all right, move turn the page. Like, he's been out there. You've seen it. It's fine. Like, there's no reason to boo him. You got a World Series with Freddie. You got an MVP. What else do you want at this point? And quite frankly, at least through 11 games, worked out pretty good for both teams. Freddie Freeman's doing nice, batting .324. Matt Olson's batting .421. Seems to be working out for everybody involved. And I think the more Matt Olson continues to play well, that'll heal that wound of Freddie wearing Dodger blue.
I don't know if it helps.
Somewhat.
I mean, yeah, it helps. Matt Olson is balling, by the way. I mean, this guy's he's definitely been a bright spot for the Braves since the opening game. But Freddie Freeman shows you what happened when you mean so much to a city, to a team, to a franchise, to an organization. It is weird. It's weird watching him because he's been 12 years. Was there when it was ugly with the Braves, and now he got before he left. And hopefully the Braves got the best out of him. Hopefully. We'll see. But I do agree, Kevin. It's gonna be a mixed bag. I mean, by the time Freddie Freeman comes to Atlanta, I think they're gonna have to give him his ring. Obviously, when he comes to Atlanta.
I mean, they don't have to, but that's why he doesn't have it now, because it's like, hey,
you're
back in town. Here you go.
Yeah, I think what happens now when you start it's most players that play for teams do not mean that much to that team. Like, Kevin Durant, he's playing OKC. They're going to do a tribute for what he meant to the organization. People go, oh, man. Like,
but doesn't that seem like forever ago that he even played for OKC?
It really. I mean, the fact that Kevin Durant is on his third team already. The thing about Freddie Freeman is Freddie Freeman just happens to be the best first baseman in baseball. Freddie Freeman has the MVP season. Freddie Freeman has a World Series. And Freddie Freeman has been the face of the Braves since he's been there, taking nothing away from Ronald Acuna Jr. the last 4 years. All that being said, the Dodgers are these thorn in the Braves side. That's what it really be. It's you gonna play for the Yankees and the Red Sox. You gonna do both. That's what it really is. It's not so much that Freddie didn't stay. It's who he left you for. Like, somebody go, look, man. It's somebody saying that Freddie can date anybody he wants. Just don't date the Dodgers. Man, he going to the Dodgers. That's what he's doing. So that's what it really is, Kevin. It's almost like the team that you just cannot get away from. No matter Freddie Freeman is there or not, that's the team you got to see in the postseason to either go to the World Series or to advance. And I think for him to go there with everything that went down, yes, we got Matt Olson, loving Matt Olson. It's because who we pick. Listen, you wish Freddie Freeman the best, like staying healthy when he's not playing the Braves. But when he's playing the Braves, I want him to have his worst outing out, because the thing about it is we know how potent Freddie Freeman knows everybody in that pitching staff, top to bottom. Even Jansen, because he didn't win against him in the freaking postseason. Yeah. So he even knows him. But it's just so much respect for Freddie Freeman. Dansby has been Dansby understands how just great Freddie Freeman is and what he means to baseball to the Braves. Ronald Acuna just realizing right now, you don't come an icon, man. Like you just don't. Like if I'm coming to the Braves and Freddie and Chipper Jones is leaving, I say something about Chipper Jones, it don't matter what Chipper did. Shh. Because you can't win when it comes. So Ronald, you know I love you. Get healthy. But please stay away from talking about Freddie Freeman because I mean, unless outside of Ronald Acuna saying something about Freddie Freeman, him having a quote baby slump in 2021, that's about as good of a baseball player and a human being you can be.
Well, I mean, I think from Ronald saying, as you said, that's part of the learning process as a player, Ben. But I think for Ronald Acuna in that situation, I think a lot of people could have taken that the wrong way, and I think a lot of people look at it and say, "Hey, he was asked a question." It's like, man, you really gonna miss Freddie? We weren't boys. I mean, it's fine. I don't think he said anything bad about him as a person. And that's the thing. It's like we want athletes to be truthful, and I think Ronald was. And I think maybe if he were to ask it over again, he'd be truthful, but couch his words differently.
Of course.
And I think in that situation, I think he just said what everybody probably knew, but you just don't say out loud. And that look, Ronald Acuna, there's a language barrier there. One guy's been in the league, 7-8 years longer than you have? Yeah, there's going to be some stylistic clashes. Guess what? Guys do not hang out with everybody on the roster.
Yes.
Like,
it's 25 guys, you don't hang out.
It's one of those things where you can have clubhouse chemistry, and I think, but that doesn't mean that every single person has to hang out all the time. I think you just have to have enough personalities that's like, hey, I don't want to go kill that guy. We don't get along. We don't do this. We don't go hang out after the games a lot, but I appreciate what he does. I respect you. And I'm not coming in the locker room looking at him going, man, if I have to look at his face one more time. No. So I think Ron was just articulating that. It's like, look, it's very clear in baseball clubhouses, if you have a contingent of guys who don't really speak a lot of English and they'll probably kind of hang out together for the most part. I think people respect each other's games, but I don't think that was a big shock that like Freddie and Ronald didn't go hang out in the off days. Now, as far as calling out Freddie for, hey, he didn't like the way I played, that kind of stuff is like, that's going to happen too. It didn't probably need to be said, but, I think this is part of the closure process for me. At least it should be for a lot of people, I think, is look, you hate it that he left. When you're a fan, you hate when your icons leave. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to see that. Like, nobody wanted to see Joe Montana galloping around in a Chiefs jersey. Like, nobody wanted to see that.
Mm-hmm.
But it happened. And I think you're going to see Freddie for the next 3 nights wearing Dodger blue.
I mean, Brett Favre played for the freaking Vikings.
No, I'm saying, but again, so now you see it. It's right there. You can get all the kind of hat tips and, we really miss you kind of stuff out of the way now. And I think by the time, again, it rolls around later in the season, to me, it should just be over and done with. Like, I don't wish Freddie Freeman ill will. I think he made a bad choice, obviously, but I don't wish him any ill will except for the next 3 nights. If he didn't have a hit, it wouldn't hurt my feelings.
It wouldn't.
I don't think it's boo worthy at the end of the day. But I think to me, this is part of it. It's kind of a perfect scenario. It's on the road. It's in Los Angeles. It's late night. Look, watch it for what it is. Appreciate Freddie Freeman and move on. You got Matt Olson, who's doing just fine in that role for you at first base.
Of course. I mean, I think you said it the right, Kevin. I think what it is we like storylines, whether fake or not. We like to create storylines. We like to make up. It's like Ronald Acuna Jr. said something. We gonna look with it. What was he really trying to say? See, I told you. Like, if you didn't think Ronald Acuna Jr. and Freddie Freeman weren't friends before that, you ain't gonna think that even more then. But Ronald Acuna understands now. Look, man, what you say about certain things always matters. Like, always. And I think when you talk about a guy like Freddie Freeman, 12 years, he gave you all he had. Never, ever was a distraction. Never, ever made it about himself. Never, ever made it about the contract. But we said going into year 12, Alex Anthopoulos, dude, he coming off MVP. You need to get this done because the more you wait, the more the money's going to go up. But no, Freddie Freeman done the right way. I hope that when Freddie Freeman's career comes to an end, he signs a 1-2-year deal to finish it out as a Brave. I mean, he's always going to be one of those top Braves, no matter how his career ends up with the Dodgers. You never want anybody to have a good game against the Braves. I don't care who it is, even if it is Freddie Freeman. But I do agree, Kevin. I want him to be healthy. I mean, he's a great ambassador for the grain, still the best first base of the game. And Matt Olson. I'm interested to see, like, if they show them going, because Matt Olson, look, man,
He had nothing to do with it.
Exactly.
He's like,
I had nothing to do with it. I love Freddie. It's like I love Freddie Freeman, man. Like, and I think that's the thing. Like, coming up as a tight end, man, I mean, if I'm playing and Tony Gonzalez is playing, I'm glued. That's freaking Tony Gonzalez out there. Or I didn't play with a time with Shannon Sharp, but that go Antonio Gates. After the game, I'm like, Antonio, man, like, I got to play you in practice. What? Like, yeah. It's like, sometimes it's just that level of sportsmanship and respect for the other guy. Like, if I'm somewhere and Freddie Freeman's there, I'm losing my freaking mind. That's Freddie Freeman.
But I think Matt Olson knows, like, look, I'm here to replace this guy, but it wasn't like a hostile takeover type situation. So it's like, I'm here, and he's doing it again. I think he has handled it as well as somebody ever could. Look, you're coming home, you're filling in for, as you said, a legend. That's got to be some pressure to step in and say, hey, they gave me, I wasn't even breathing South Florida air, and I got an 8-year extension. Like I got traded and in the plane ride over, hadn't played one spring training practice.
Oh, that's the best fight of his life.
I'm just saying, but haven't set foot in the clubhouse, and they gave me an 8-year deal.
Yes.
Had never seen any of my teammates, and they're going, so you got traded for, and you got an 8-year deal, and you don't even know where your locker is yet. You got to be walking in there going, I better show I'm worth it. I better come in here showing that I deserve to be here. I'm a hometown kid from Atlanta. I understand what the Braves mean to people. Obviously, he said all the right things. Like, I know what Freddie Freeman meant to this team, and you are trying to fill those shoes. And I think he has handled it beautifully, at least through 2 weeks, and how to handle it. This ought to be an interesting series, as you said. Is there a little extra? Like, well, there's the guy I'm replacing standing right over there. Do I have to outduel him in this series? I hope that's not going through his mind, but he has done a tremendous job, I think, of being the guy to replace the guy, which we've given countless examples. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wanted to be Ron Zook following Steve Spurrier.
No.
Nobody wanted to be the guy coming in following, Urban Meyer. Nobody wanted to be the guy they wanted to be, but it's tough coming in following Kirby Smart. I think Kirby Smart, Mark Richt, Kirby Smart handled it beautifully. And now, whenever the day comes that Kirby Smart said, I've had enough, who wants to be that guy? Nobody. So I think there are times when you fill in for people who become just icons of their program, of their team, and you got to come in like nobody really envies doing that. And I think Matt Olson, through 2 weeks anyway, and through spring training, has done a nice job. We've got so much more to get to. We'll talk more about Braves and Dodgers. Obviously, coming up, we'll chat with Buzz Saunders, former Valdosta State wide receiver, as he gets ready for the next step, the National Football League, trying to get his name called during draft time. And the late ad, Ben Graham Coffee, Dog Sports, will join us at 5 o'clock, and we'll talk about Georgia and the spring game. We'll get some of Ben's thoughts on that as well. Everybody getting tied in crazy there in Athens. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you here at 3 and Out on this Monday. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. We are streaming live as well, ESPNCoastal.com. And you can also catch us live streaming on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Braves fans, love to hear from you. 912-342-7184. You excited about going up against Freddie Freeman tonight in the next 3 days? Love to hear from you on that. And Georgia fans, spring game over the weekend. I know it is what it is. Been a lot of folks read way too much into to spring games, but Eric Gilbert, by all accounts, looked very good. Obviously, they ran some things for him, so much so that people go, oh, man, you got Eric Gilbert, you got Brock Bowers. People are out here talking 3 and 4 tight end formations out here because Georgia's so stacked in the position. You're kind of slim at wide receiver, at least at the moment. Are people losing their minds with this? I mean, is this a problem like quarterback? Look, there's only so many tight ends you can physically put on the field before it just doesn't make sense. I mean, could you run 3 tight ends if you're Georgia, knowing that 2 of them really aren't going to block? They're just mismatches. I mean, what say you? And I mean, you're the football guy. Are these people just internet nuts, or is that something that Georgia could roll out?
Oh, they definitely internet nuts. That's definitely an accurate assessment, Kevin. But this is the thing, right? What else are we gonna be talking about? Like, okay, Eric Gilbert, 2 years ago with that LSU freshman All-American, was incredible. Obviously, he leaves, supposed to go to Florida, didn't go to Florida, ended up at Georgia, didn't play because of family stuff. Got everything going. The tight end room is depleted, right? You know, Brock Bowers out, Darnell Washington out, Eric Gilbert. They were gonna find a way to get him in, and I mean, he did look good. I'm not taking away. Now, you got a double tight end, and you got it's called Trey, where you got 3 tight ends. Me, myself, Aaron Kenny, and Boscave got a chance to do it a little bit. We was in the National Football League. That's good for certain packages. You're not going up and down the field with 3 tight ends. You know why? Because there's a thing called the transfer portal, and these wide receivers will be dropping like fly. Like, dude, I'm not coming here to just do this again. They already, had to deal with the fact that you used to have to run block all the time when Kirby Smart first got there. Now you're gonna take me out. Listen, Brock Bowers is proven. Darnell Washington is the starting wide tight end, the guy with his hand on the ground. And Eric Gilbert, he's athletic. I think that the spring, we just want to create so many storylines. If Eric Gilbert was already on the team and he wasn't dealing with everything he dealt with, he caught a touchdown pass, he's in there, he's flexing, people, and it's cool. I mean, that's a lot of frustration coming out from a young man that just wanted to get his personal life together, never ever been about what he's been away from football, getting it together, look good. But are you going to be able to have some packages to have 3 guys out there? Yeah, of course you do. Is that going to be the norm? No. Because I think that when people we can have 3 tight ends, how long does it take, a defense to figure out what you're doing? Darnell Washington, I'm sorry, he's not a passing threat. He's just not. I mean, big body, right? But not a passing threat. Eric Gilbert, look, he has to deal with a full season now. Like now,
so you're falling in love with the athleticism, is basically
yes. I mean, and Kevin, just like I know, it's Georgia, right? It's going to be about, oh my God, did you see the throw from freaking, did you see the throw, in the end zone to Eric Gilbert? Did you see, and I be saying to myself, I think sometimes when it comes to, I remember so many years back, Justin Fields at Georgia. This boy, listen, before he even got off the field for the end, it was already up on YouTube. This is the next great. I get it. Stetson threw a nice bullet to Eric Gilbert. If you just turn the TV, it looks like it was quarterback throwing the ball to a receiver. Oh, my God. And they just started losing it. I get it. I get the hysteria, right? But let's pump our brakes. Because like you said, Kevin, it went from that to, look at Carson Beck. Oh, look at the defense. Oh, who's going to replace this guy? Oh, you just want to come out of spring healthy. I get it. Alabama and Georgia fans, let me tell y'all something. Y'all a little bit different too, because a lot of this too is spun by social media, disagreements. Eric Gilbert is going to work himself into the fold. We don't even know how Eric Gilbert is even going to look in the fall because Brock and freaking Darnell aren't there. So I don't even know. Look, 3 tight ends is not going to be the norm in college football. We'll see what happens. He did look good. I'm not taking anything away from him. But Kevin, with so many teams, because Alabama played their spring game, Ohio State played their spring. It was a lot of spring games. Georgia's going to it. Who's going to be the backup quarterback? How does Eric Gilbert look? How does the defense look? And obviously, Mr. Mims, Darius Mims, he's coming back. He went out there. He went out there on the transfer portal circuit. He will be back at Georgia.
And again, I think people were talking about that. Kind of underplayed the the significance of that because he was down there at Florida State. He was looking around, and people say, well, he's probably not going to play because he's a 5-star. But I mean, dude, you're stuck behind some guys who are ballers there on the roster. Ultimately, decides to come back. How big is that for Georgia? We talk about, hey, we might have another 5-star recruit coming in, but this is a guy that's been in the program, in the weight room, doing his thing for at least the last 2 years. And while he may not be happy sitting, he's still in the program. And at some point, as you said, Ben, they'll find a way to get you on the field if you can make a difference, right?
Amarius Mims, he weighed it all out. He looked around and said, okay, my former teammate Jermaine Johnson came down to Florida State, but he started on the defense that was very, very lackluster, that needed a guy of his caliber, but he also was ACC Defensive Player of the Year. Am I going to go to a depleted offensive line at Florida State for I've heard some reports and read some reports that said this year's offensive line might be worse than last year. Wow. Amarius Mims was saying, all right, man, the pedigree that's being built at Georgia, I understand what the culture is. I understand what they're trying to do coming off a national championship. Wow. And I don't want to I think he didn't like how it looked, Kevin, perception-wise. Oh, you're a 5-star. Oh, you ain't getting what you like. Coming off a national championship? It's like, let me just go back and just, apologize to my teammates, ask them to welcome me back, apologize to my offensive line, ask them to welcome me back. Because, Kevin, just like I know. I give you 2 words, Jamie Newman. You don't want to play with the brand known as Georgia because, Amarius knows this. If I go to Florida State, not only they're going to be talking to my coach there, they're going to go to talk to Kirby. What type of player was he before he? So I think he just weighed it all out and said, look, man, if I'm not going to play, I at least can try to, still boost my stock as being a good team. And who knows, Kevin, you know how it is. You're injury away from being in the starting lineup.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see again. I think if they come out with a post-spring depth chart, we'll talk to Graham Coffey about this coming up at the top of the final hour. And I think, to me, how does that play out? Where's Mims fit? As you said, he wasn't there the last little bit of spring ball. Why? Because he was out shopping around, saying he was going to transfer. So where's he fit in there? Where's Carson Beck fit? If Carson Beck's not number 2, is there a transfer portal upcoming there potentially as well? So I think that's an ever-developing story there at Georgia. I know people get tired of saying, like, why people keep talking about the quarterbacks? Well, I mean, it's because there's a lot of interesting things that could happen. You could be the national championship, defending national champion team out there and really be very, very thin at the quarterback spot in terms of not thin on talent, but thin on experience and bodies there if Carson Beck decides to leave. It's basically Stetson Bennett, and you got Brock Vandagriff, hadn't really played a whole lot. And certainly when he has played, it hasn't been anything significant or meaningful. And then you've got, Gunnar Stockton coming in, who's obviously not played at all because he was playing high school football last year. So you get real thin real quick there at the quarterback spot.
Yeah, you really do. I think the thing about a guy like Stetson Bennett, he's meant so much for so long. We act like this just happened in 2021. What about 2018? I mean, what about 2019? What about 2020? But Kevin, you're right. It's about developing those guys behind the starters because you said it when you first came back on. It's about depth. Every single day I guarantee this coach go, all right, this is a what if scenario. Stetson goes down. They're gonna be like, everybody just lean back. You want me to lie to you, coach? I can lie and say we good, but we not good. Why? I mean, one guy wasn't on campus. The other guy was a 5-star. The guy behind him was a 5-star. So getting those guys reps, getting them quality reps is letting them know, look, man, Stetson is the guy, but that number 2 spot is wide open. Whoever gets announced as number 2, watch out, because I think the number 3 is going to hit the transfer portal.
We've got more to come here on 3 and Out. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. You can also join us streaming live on the internet on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Draft coming up in 10 days. We got some nice comments there about the Braves and Dodgers, which we've got coming up later tonight, 8:55 with the pregame coverage. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Oh, it's coming in the air tonight. It's the Braves and Dodgers. Freddie Freeman going up against the Atlanta Braves. We'll have it for you. 8:55 pregame coverage. First pitch 10-10 this evening from the West Coast. So going late into the night. And Ben, before we move on, we got a Facebook comment from Ben Anderson. What's the likelihood Huascar goes up and tight on Freddie Freeman? I don't think that. Me personally, I don't think that's going to happen. There's no reason to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds. Number one, Huascar plays for the Braves, and this ain't the Marlins we talking about here. But I will say that. Look, now, that's the thing, right? Like Huascar hasn't been a teammate of Freddie that long to be doing that. But that doesn't even sound like him anyway. Plus, I mean, Huascar might get that. Our pitchers have been known to not be able to hit guys when trying to hit them.
Yeah.
So we don't even want to. I don't like stuff like that.
But I don't think there's no reason.
There is no bad blood, right? You don't look.
Not amongst the players anyway.
No.
The players are like, look, took another deal.
I mean, I'm interested to see, what Freddie. If Freddie Freeman here's a double, he's sitting out there, talking to Ozzy, stuff like that. It's not. I think what happens is right. I think what happens to the guy like Freddie Freeman, that's how polarizing he is. Like we sitting there like, look, man, it's gonna be fine. Like the Braves are the one organization.
From I love him to high and tight him.
Yeah, the Braves are the one organization. I can't say we don't. The Braves pitchers are never, from what I can remember, never really tried to hit guys. Like never. Now I get it if it's some type of revenge thing. No, man, it's fine. It's cool. Get him out. Laugh out a little bit. Because I think, like it is, once the game gets going, it's business as usual.
No, look, that was an interesting question for Ben because I know there's some fans that are like, but look, it's a business. It's the Braves made an offer. He chose to go elsewhere. In that locker room, there's no animosity. There's depression, I think. I think certain guys like Dansby and other guys have obviously said, look, like we miss him. But in the locker room, Ben, this, if a guy left on a business decision, there's no animosity. If you're on the Titans and the guy leaves and goes to, the Colts, when y'all play, you're not like, hey, I'm about to knock your block off because you left us. No. I mean, hey, good for you. You went and made it. Now, if Freddie Freeman, on the heels of a World Series did what he did and then, went double middle fingers out the door and said, I hate Atlanta. You guys, stink. And I'm glad to get out of that dump. Okay. Maybe. Ben Anderson said, you don't think there's tension between the players and him? No, I don't. I don't. Not the players.
Because my thing is this. One thing that's apparent in pro sports. Nothing is above the business. Like me, Kevin, me, you, BJ, we all can be on the same baseball team, right? We love playing with each other. We all live in different households. Each household, our job is to do what's best for our families. Now, on that field, we doing what's best for us and the team. Freddie Freeman wanted a certain number. Anthopoulos in the front of the group said no, and
still made a good offer.
Yeah, still made a great offer. I think what happens is we forget the best interest of the team is a everyday job for any organization. If you are the Braves, we're not trying to dip. So if we can't get Freddie free, what is that? We can't get Freddie free. We got to get Matt Olson because that's the thing that they ain't giving a lot of credit for. You got arguably the second, no worse than third best first baseman in baseball, but it's just the business. I mean, you wish guys nothing but the best because I think at the end of the day, Hugh Douglas, man, I'm telling you, Hugh Douglas needs a statue for the money and the memories because it's so true. And look, it's because of who it is, not what he did. It's because it's Freddie Free. Because people do this all the time.
But I think, but to Ben's question, though, I don't think there's any tension amongst the players because when it happened, everybody was kind of shocked. Like, man, I can't believe he's actually gone. And so I don't think, like, it's one thing if it's, I'm drawing a blank on the cat that hit Acuna like 3 or 4 times.
Oh, you talking about the freaking pitcher? Yeah,
he's not with them anymore. But I think that's different because you're impacted. This is a personal move. It stinks. I get it. He said just going back. No, but look, even Acuna's comments, I don't think to address not you, Ben, but Ben Anderson, who brings that to us, based off of Acuna's comments were based on somebody asked, hey, are you sad to see Freddie go? And I think that was a question asked to him based on how Dansby and some of the other guys reacted like, man, I was looking at that empty locker over there, and it's like, it hurts that he's not here. And Acuna, we talked about this earlier, Ben, Acuna simply said what was truthfully on his mind. Like, when I first came up, he kind of didn't like the way I played. And so, it is what it is. They weren't friends. I don't think they hated each other. Acuna's not there. I don't think it was a prevailing sentiment, that did Freddie Freeman, was he, and again, you got to remember the organizations and the way baseball has changed in the last couple of years. The organization that Freddie Freeman came up with was the tail end of the Bobby Cox era, the Chipper Jones era, where outside of the Yankees, who, make you shave the mustache and all that, the Atlanta Braves were largely known as, hey, we're the most buttoned up professional clubhouse you're going to come to. Like, you just didn't have there was a lot of old school, we're going to play baseball the right way kind of stuff, which is why I think when, Brian McCann was there, you saw them yelling at Carlos Gomez for pimping a home run and watch it. And that's just kind of the way the Braves clubhouse culture was cultivated. And then you got some of the young guys, and I'm not saying that this wasn't warranted, by the way. You have some of the young guys coming in, Acuna, Albies, who said, look, we can still respect the game and have a little fun in this clubhouse, and it's not going to ruin the vibe we have.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's more of where Acuna was coming from. And look, Ray didn't like the way that some of us played the game. We respected the game. And I think there's times where you could go to pull Ronald aside and say, hey, maybe that, when he wasn't running out balls and stuff like that, say, hey, that's not what we do here. And you let it go and you move on. And I think from that standpoint, I think Acuna was simply like, in his way of saying it, at least I'm going to interpret it. Is like, look, we're just different people. Okay. Ray's Freddie. I'm Ronald. He wants to play the game his way. I want to approach the game my way. And that wasn't exactly the same way. Doesn't mean they didn't get along. I never saw them avoid each other after each one of them hit a home run or something good happened. They were teammates. They knew how to do it. I don't think I'm not making this out to be a bad blood thing.
No,
even if Acuna hated Freddie Freeman, the rest of that roster, the way they talked was, look, man, he was the face of the team. You don't just lose that guy and everybody's like, and that's good.
And that's sports too. Like the thing about Ronald Acuna, like I played sports, football a long time. I wasn't the most loved teammate of all my teammates. I had teammates I ain't like. I know I had teammates that didn't like me. We look at sports. Sports is like a family. Do you like everybody in your family? No. But at the same time,
there's some people that didn't even want to get together for Easter lunch.
Exactly. But listen, think about this. You ever walked into a family reunion or a family gathering and you see somebody going, who let him in? He's saying the same, how he get here? It happens, right? But I think the one thing Ronald Acuna Jr. didn't understand, while you are the phenom, that was the face. While you are the future, that was the present. So, but bad blood to me doesn't have to be orchestrated through the media. You can see it. There are certain players, Bumgarner, Yasiel, they don't like each other. Everybody, it was well documented. Yankees, Red Sox don't like each other. It's certain things that's already built in. Freddie Freeman and the Braves, come on. No.
I will be very surprised if anything like that happens. And certainly if it does, I don't think it's going to be on purpose. Brian, because usually if that happens, it comes from the manager, and I don't think Brian Snitker's going to tell anybody to go after Freddie Freeman like that.
If they're going to go after anybody, it better be the Marlins. If they're going to do it.
But I mean, I don't see Brian Snicker being that. The way he spoke about Freddie Freeman,
the 12th game in the season is going to be a brawl.
Yeah, when they found out he was traded, like they told Snicker, who was holding a press conference at the time, they're like, hey, by the way, Freeman's not coming back. You got Matt Olson. And he just kind of stood there for a minute. It was like, well, there you go. So I don't think it certainly wouldn't be coming from the top. If he's going to get, plunked in this series, it would have to be by a guy who had something to hold against Freddie Freeman. And I don't know what that would be or who that would be. I mean, my God, everybody on the team for the most part just went to a World Series and won. And he was a big reason because of that. So I don't know why there would be any reason to do that. I think it's more, to me, this is to address Ben Anderson's question. To me, I said this earlier, this is the cathartic series for the fans. This is the grieving process. First, you're mad, which everybody was. Why isn't he coming back? Then you're depressed. Then you have your little grief. And then you start the healing process to get over. I think that's what this is. Look, he's in Dodger Blue. You get to see it for yourself. He's not going to, hopefully he doesn't hit any game-winning home runs. That might delay the process. But I think, to me, this is part of the closure process. He's there. He's not coming back. you got Matt Olson. I hope both first basemen do well. Hope Matt Olson does better in this series. But I think that's part of that's who we had. He's gone. Let's appreciate who we have now in Matt Olson and all move forward. Wish you nothing but the best, Freddie. And we're ready to get back home after the series is over. I think that's how the Braves are approaching it. I don't think the players in the clubhouse were anywhere remotely close to as PO'd about Freddie not coming back as the fan base was. Not even close.
Oh, no,
as you said,
it's not.
It comes down to a business decision.
Yeah.
And obviously some of them were friends and closer than others. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, they tried. Alex Anthopoulos doesn't owe Dansby Swanson an explanation. Alex Anthopoulos doesn't owe Ozzie Albies an explanation. He looks at those guys and say, fellas, it's my duty to make the team better.
Yep. Which he
can say, look, we made an offer. What if Freddie said no and Matt Olson got traded to the Yankees? What were we going to do then? We don't have a major league ready first baseman in the organization right now. So I think Alex Anthopoulos had to do what he had to do. I think deep down the players understand it. They don't have to like it. They're upset that Freddie's gone, but I don't think there's any bad blood prevailing through the locker room about Freddie Freeman being with the Dodgers.
No, and I think you make a good point, Kevin, when you start talking. It's the fans. We get this going about everything.
Sure.
Not just Freddie Freeman, but the lineup, who's coming out the bullpen, what may have you. But no, I just think sometimes things are overblown because of who it is. Freddie Freeman meant so much to so many, not just to the Braves organization, but people got used to him. 12 years, man. 12 years is a long time for anything. 12 years is a long time at a job, let alone for MLB franchise. But look, I get it. Ronald Acuna Jr. and Freddie Freeman were not the best. Why? Because Freddie Freeman knew that's the future face, even if I'm the current face. Ozzie Albies stepped in and said, look, let us young boys do our young thing, and I'll make sure that we ain't, quote, while we being us, we aren't affecting the integrity of the game. I can understand. They always say this: the older you get, the more you become your dad and grandfather when it comes to these games.
At some point, Ozzie Albies or Ron Acuna will turn around and go, "What are these young kids doing out here?"
Listen. My kids one time,
you say you're not going to, but then you do.
My kids one time, they blaring the music, and I said, "Turn that music down." And as soon as I said, I go, "Oh." God, I turned it to my dad. It happens to us all, people. It happens to us all.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it tonight. And again, we'll see Freddie Freeman, unfortunately, in Dodger blue. But again, I think that's part of it.
No, I got to ask you this, okay, before we go. Would you wear a Freddie Freeman Dodger blue jersey?
No, I would. No, because I'm weird. Like, I know people say this in this day and age. I'm just saying, being for real. Where people now, I think you see it in the NFL and the NBA and certain sports where people are like, I'm a fan of the players. I'm a fan of the players, but I'm a fan of the team first. So, Freddie Freeman's on the Dodgers now. I don't want a Freddie Freeman Dodgers jersey. I'll take a Matt Olson jersey. I'll take whatever. But so I just look at it that way. I'm a fan of the team first. If you happen to play on my team, like I could not stand Bryce Harper. If Bryce Harper is standing out in right field tonight for the Atlanta Braves, love you, Bryce. Give me that number 3.
Exactly.
Well, he can't wear number 3 because Dale Murphy had that. He had to pick another one. But look, if Bryce Harper's out there, love Bryce. Well, he gets a little crazy. Oh, I love him now. He's on my team.
Of course.
So I'm a fan of the team first, not necessarily player. I respect the players. I like certain players, but I'm sorry, I'm not toting a Freddie Freeman Dodgers jersey. I wish him all the best, and I don't want him to get hurt. But look, I'm Braves first, players second. There's been a lot of my favorite players that ended up on other teams, and I follow them, not getting their jersey.
Nope, not
getting their jersey.
Nope.
Sorry, Ben. When you went to Tampa, I'm not getting a Troop jersey. It was Titans or nothing. I'm just guys.
And I will respect, and that's what I'm saying. See, you got different kind of fans now. You got fans that will everywhere LeBron go, they'll get LeBron jerseys. I'm not like that. Like I'm just saying, I love. If Chipper Jones, thank God he didn't. If Chipper Jones go to the Yankees, I look at Chipper so different. Because I think we expect them to become like us. We don't go to certain places, Chipper. You know that, right? Like, we don't do that. So, hey, man.
If Chipper Jones went to the Yankees, do not come at me with a Chipper Jones Yankees jersey. I don't want it.
About Chipper. Nope.
Don't want it. Don't want it. Braves are nothing at all. We've got more to come here. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on this Monday. Kevin, Ben, glad to have you on the show. We'll hear from Graham Coffey, UGA Sports coming up, or Dog Sports, excuse me, coming up in the final hour of the program. Also, Buzz Sons will join us next hour, and we'll talk some football with the former Valdosta State wide receiver getting ready for the next step in his football career. But over the weekend, Jordan Spieth, guy's name we haven't heard from, wins the RBC Heritage in a playoff over Patrick Cantlay, and kind of unconventional, like was in early, and his score held up throughout the day to get him to a playoff, and then he wins in a playoff without his best stuff, so to speak. Could not putt. He says, "Hey, this is the worst I've putted in a tournament," and he came away with the RBC Heritage Championship. So Jordan Spieth, I know, Ben, we talk about guys. We talked about a couple weeks ago with the Masters. Hey, are we looking at Scotty Scheffler as a guy that's going to go up? I asked Rich this. Or is it a guy that's got a Jordan Spieth trek where he wins a lot early and then kind of fizzles down? And we kind of said, well, Jordan did kind of fizzle down, and here he is getting a win here in 2022.
It's that big name carousel, right? Kevin, we always talking about Jordan Spieth was one. I remember when he first burst on the scene, he was supposed to be the next face. McIlroy, Brooks Koepka, but hey, man, if my worst putting day, I still win a tournament, that's got to make you feel good for the rest of the season.
Yeah, that payday's not bad, and you get one of these cool plaid jackets. You got the green jacket in Augusta, and in Hilton Head, you get the plaid jacket. How does Ben look in plaid?
Ben probably looks crazy as hell in plaid, but I will wear it. I really don't care, and the brighter the better.
I asked for, is plaid slimming?
They
guys who are a little round, should we wear plaid?
They say it is, Kevin. So we might got to get us a couple of plaid outfits.
I need to get a whole plaid outfit. I'll lose 25 pounds overnight. Just if you're listening at home, dear, I'm going all plaid. It's gonna make me look svelte. I don't even have to work out. We come back. We got work up. Take 3 around the corner. Buzz Songs next hour. And boy, it's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio, or leave us a comment, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Great to be here with you on this Monday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop. Glad you're making us a part of your day. So much to get here this hour. Buzz Saunders is going to join us coming up. Former Valdosta State wide receiver. We'll talk to him about his career and what's next for him moving forward towards hopefully the National Football League out of Valdosta State. Also, Graham Coffey will join us coming up in the final hour of the show. We'll talk about Georgia's spring game with Graham from Dog Sports and what's next for the Georgia Bulldogs. But first, Ben, let's take three here on 3 and Out. All right, take one, Ben. The USFL returned this week. Saturday crowds, very good. Sunday crowds, well, a lot of people dressed up as seats. What? I think that was that outlandish, but I mean, where's your excitement level now that you've actually seen what it is?
I am still excited. I am. I'm gonna tell you why. I think sometimes we forget how hard it is to be a professional athlete. I think sometimes we forget it's only so many slots in the National Football League, right? So where does that leave the bulk of college football? I mean, what? G5, P5, NAIA, Ivy League, Division III, Division, and so on and so forth. The USFL at one was competing with the NFL. Obviously, the NFL is what it is now. Birmingham is obviously going to sell the most tickets because it's in Birmingham. But I see Coach Larry Fedora, Todd Haley, Jeff Fisher, and so on and so forth. I'm seeing guys like Dalvin Bellamy, former Georgia defensive lineman out there just terrorizing. I'm happy for the guys because it's still quality football. I think too often at times we act as if every single NFL game is quality. It is not. We've just grown to accept that this is the best of the best. Still very, very excited about the USFL. It's going to take, a full season to get everybody on board. They're going to have to find a way to entice some of these opposing fans who show up to the games. I mean, you can't just have fully empty stands, but you play so many games. Listen, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you got a lot of games being played, but I was very, very impressed with it, Kevin. I think having the kickoff start 10 yards back to make it so that there are no touchbacks. So, if you want to go for a 3-point conversion, something about where if you do a pass to where, you could do like 2 forward passes, some kind of crazy rule they got with that, but I was impressed, man. I think sometimes because I'm one of the ones that made it to the National Football League, I don't respect everybody that's strapped on a helmet. Hey, man, one weekend in, we'll see what happens, man. But they better get all the clicks they can get, all the fans they can get, because the XFL people will be here quicker than you know it.
Very much so. I did not get the chance to watch, but just a little bit of it. It looked like regular football. I did not see from the time I watched a lot of different things. I know
they hitting out there now. Make no mistake about it.
There's that.
Them safeties out there coming down here with some cruel intentions, but you get a lot more guys mic'd up than you normally would. You get like a helmet cam from a running back to see what he's seeing. So so you start saying, dude, why didn't he hit the hole? There was no hole. That thing closed up. So I like what I saw. I think the quarterbacks are definitely going to have to run the league just like the National Football League, just like college football. But for one weekend, opening weekend with everything going, I think once, because you still got spring game, you still got the draft coming. Once all that subsides.
Yeah, but I think they're hurt too by playing in one city. Yeah, because if I'm in Birmingham and there's a Birmingham team, like obviously I'm gonna watch that team. Like I don't want to go watch Pittsburgh and New Orleans. I'm in Birmingham.
If you could have, a lot of things go into that when you're talking about, man, we got to cut down on traffic, we got to cut down on logistics. You couldn't have did it in a city like Atlanta. You couldn't have did it in a city like Tampa or Atlanta. You couldn't have did it in those cities. But hey, man, this is their model right now. They're gonna see how it works. They definitely got some big time coaches. But like I said, for one weekend, I know our own Christian Gokel isn't here. Who knows what he would say? Christian, we love you. But hey, man, first weekend, don't look at the ratings. Don't look at that. But quality football, very, very good.
All right, moving along. Take 2. Do the Hawks bounce back tomorrow versus Miami? It was rough. I think Trey was ice.
Yeah.
1 of 12 shooting.
Yeah.
And 8 points. Hawks lose 115-91. This is after obviously 2 one-and-done elimination games they had to go through, but did not show up in game 1.
They didn't. Give Jimmy Butler and company a lot of credit. I mean, they understood what the assignment was. They got to be like most teams say, listen, man, we're gonna let Trey go off and let his role players go out there and beat us. They said, no, we're gonna take away the heartbeat of this team. Trey makes the entire engine run. I mean, 1 of 12 is not gonna be good for him. That's his worst That's not only his worst playoff performance. I think that's his worst performance as a pro. So I do think he bounces back. I mean, having some film to see kind of how they gonna play him on defense, guys gonna have to step up. I mean, hurting those guys gonna have, Bogdanovich. They're gonna have to step up. Clint Capella. Those guys are gonna have to step up in game 2. But give Coach Prosper, some credit. I mean, people thought, he is a really, really good coach, man. People thought he was the only good coach when he had LeBron and those guys. No, he's still a really, really good coach. I mean, the thing about this Miami team, they're going to try to bully this young Hawks team. Trey going to have to go out there and make those adjustments. But, yes, I do think they get back on track in game 2.
They've proven a lot of people wrong thus far who didn't think they would get out of the elimination rounds, the one and dones, and made it there. I think, obviously, you have a Miami team who was sitting around waiting to see who they were going to play. Meanwhile, the Hawks were playing, max effort, loser, go home. And by the way, came back from down double digits on Friday night just to get to Sunday to play that basketball game. So I think maybe a little bit of tired legs for the Atlanta Hawks there. We'll see. I think they'll bounce back in game number 2. All right, Ben, take 3. Are you rooting for or against Freddie Freeman in this series?
I'm rooting against him. I mean, Freddie Freeman, look, when you said it you said a couple seconds ago, Kevin. I mean, look, there's no disrespect. Freddie Freeman, I appreciate what you wear when you wear a Brave. You have on the wrong colors. That's the wrong color blue. And I say the wrong color blue, and that's real similar to the Florida Gator blue. But I gotta say, it's the Dodgers. It ain't the Braves. So sorry, Freddie Freeman. While I respect what you meant to this franchise, while I respect what you meant to baseball, the type of player you are, you have on the wrong colors, brother. So I am not rooting for you. I'm rooting again. Now, as far as like health, yes, I want you to be as healthy and strong as possible. But I want you to have the worst at bats of your life. When you talking about because Kevin, that's sports, right? Like I think it's like you said it. Bryce Harper can go. I can't stand him. He just got traded to the Braves. Love him, love everything. Because what you don't like about him when he's with another team, you embrace him when he's with your team. Well, the thing about Freddie Free is, dude, everything you are, it happened with the Braves. And I just didn't think it was gonna be the Dodgers. Like that's what I said, it's not gonna be the Dodgers, is it? And then time kept going on, and the next thing in the 8 o'clock hour, Freddie Freeman signed with the Dodgers. I'm like this. So yes, I'm gonna be rooting against Freddie Freeman. Kevin, like I said, I can appreciate everything he's meant to my Bravos. I can appreciate everything he's meant to that organization, but you are not with the Bravos no more.
That's the only reason I asked the question, because I know there are some fans who are, look, I love Freddie Freeman. I'm not going to root against him. I want the Braves to beat the Dodgers, but I don't want Freddie to have a bad series. And there are people out there that'll do that. I can't do it.
No.
Can't root for him for these 3 games. I really don't want to root for him the other games either, because he's with the Dodgers, who might stand in the way of the Braves trying to repeat, but I'm definitely not rooting for Freddie Freeman in this series. Would I boo him no, I don't think I would do that either, but I'm not rooting on his success.
I'm not gonna turn into just like a Freddie Freeman basher all of a sudden. Like, this is the thing about Freddie Freeman, right? Freddie Freeman, like, okay, you got this great player, then you look at his story, that's gonna make you root for him. Then you look at his family dynamic, that's gonna make you root for him. No, man. I mean, it's Freddie Free. Listen, Freddie Free, that man, Mr. Highways himself. He always gonna be Freddie Free, that man. He just not no more. He freed himself. I ain't get Freddie Free. Thought we had something good going on. But no, 12 years, Kevin. Once again, it's kind of like the Matty Ice, right? We act as if these people ain't been here a while, but time goes by so fast. And you be like, it's like no matter what a person does, hey man, can you give us at least 5 more years, man? God dang, I mean, what? So I just think that for me, I can't root for Freddie Free because I don't root for anybody that goes against my team. I'm sorry. Playing against the Falcons, gotta root against you. Unless it's the Titans, and then I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm at a standstill. Florida, you already know what it is. I mean, it just, but the thing is, Kevin, Florida adopted me, right? The Titans, they adopted me, right? No, I've always been a part of the Braves family. I was a part of the Braves family before I even knew what baseball was. The first team I ever got introduced to was the Braves. My grandfather told me, and I live by it. He said, you root for the Braves, that's it. I said, what about the Yankees? Get out my house. What? No. So I came up with this notion of it's the Braves or nothing. That's me. I'm sorry. I rock with them Braves forever. So I'm sorry, Freddie Free. You family, but you are invited to the barbecue. Do not show up. You do not have an invite. Now, you can buy all the food. We'll eat it, but you cannot show up So yes, Kevin, we were just done. This is our part of being, and that's another thing too. You got two different kinds of fans, man. You got a bunch of fair weather, fresh out the pack Jersey fans. That no. People start, this is when you know you're a fan. Give me the history. Maddox, Glavin, Smokes, Chipper Jones, Andrew Jones. You know what I'm saying? I mean, David Justice, Terry Pendleton, Otis Nixon. I mean, and it's just going on. Bobby Cox. Okay, I got it. You see what I'm saying? Not this. Give me the history. Ronald Acuna, how old are you? What? So, sorry, Freddie Freeman. You know what it is when it comes to them A-Town down Braves. Because the one thing about the city of Atlanta, might not get a bunch of Hawks fans. You got to find the Falcons fans when it comes. And I don't know who Atlanta United. When it comes to the Braves, that's what unites us. Everybody in the ATL and around the city, around the state, is Braves fans. So, just saying.
That's take three. We do it each and every day here at this time. Braves tonight out on the West Coast against those Dodgers. And yes, as we've been talking about, Freddie Freeman going to be in action there tonight. We had some comments earlier today about, what would the Braves' feelings towards Freddie be? I think player-wise, it'll be just fine. It's the fans that maybe want a little inside pitching on Freddie Freeman, but no, I think players on the field will be fine.
High and tight.
I don't know if I'm going high. I mean, like, high and tight is for a dude that high and tight is for guys that like go after Ronald Acuna's head, and high and tight is for somebody that goes chin on Austin Riley. This is a guy that signed with another team for. Are you
making noises at your house? Like you see something hiding inside on. Do you go, oh? Like,
I probably will.
Oh, you start. It's almost like
if I think it was on purpose. I mean, yeah, because people will overreact to it. I mean, like, oh, did you see? Trying to buzz the tap, sending a message. You should have signed here, Freddie.
Oh, but yeah. Now, hold on. If he just like sometimes pitches get away from you. Sometimes they just get away from you. Watch car, it gets away from him. Do Freddie look at him like, well, I know you, right? All right, don't start. Dude, is Freddie Freeman charged the mound? Would that be?
No, he's not going to do that.
All out, bro.
I think if there's one thing we've learned through Freddie's time in Atlanta, he's not charging any mound.
No.
He's not fighting anybody.
No.
There's certain guys that want to fight and certain guys that are like, hold me back.
Oh, yeah, Freddie Freeman.
I think Freddie's like a whole
Freddie, are we fighting tonight for real?
Yeah. Any minute, Travis Darno will be out here and he'll stand in front of me. It'll be all right. Look, I don't think there's any bad blood there.
No,
I don't. I really don't.
We create more narratives in the media than I've ever seen in my life. I mean, anything. Oh, he don't like him, right? Do we? Did you hear him say that? We like mind readers just looking at people on TV. His stomach hurt. Is it? Like, we don't know. So it'll be fun. Listen, it's the Braves, it's the Dodgers. Just adding more to it because you got Freddie Freeman, who's in the Dodger blue. I get it. That's enough. Little play ball. Let's get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we got more to come here on 3 and Out. We are expected to be joined by Brian Buzz Saunders, played at Valdosta State, former McIntosh County Academy wide receiver, won a national championship at VSU, played for one again here in 2021, and now has his sights set on the next level. We'll talk to him about that journey when we come back. This is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop. We are efforting Buzz Saunders, who's set to join us here in just a little bit. Former Valdosta State wide receiver and former McIntosh County Academy wide receiver as he gets ready for the next level. We're about 10 days away, Ben, from the draft, with obviously a lot of questions there for the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, Jermaine Johnson has been, you name it. Every day it's a new guy fitting the Falcons there at 8. But the more you sit here, I know you got Marcus Mariota, and maybe you can say at some point you have to start rebuilding. But if you are looking at this season saying, we're not going to compete, which I think is clear based on the moves you've made and what players you don't have, do you try? And I always use the phrase try because people are like, well, just trade. Just make a trade. Like, you have to have somebody that wants what you have.
Mm-hmm.
Do you try to trade back and gather picks either in this draft just to get more players? Maybe trade back and get picks in next year's draft? Or right now, do you just need players, period? Go ahead and get them at 8 as best a player you could possibly get.
I think you weigh both options. I think if there's somebody at number 8 like a Jermaine Johnson, like a Kayvon Thibodeau, maybe a Kyle Hamilton falls to you. You see a guy, 3 guys you could definitely build around. Kyle Hamilton, leading your secondary, even though he's a young guy. A guy in Kayvon Thibodeau, who to me, Bob, you look at most reports, some people got him the best pass rusher in the draft. He's just Aiden Hutchinson gets all the hype. I think you try to go after one of those guys. But Kevin make a good point when you talk about trading back. Look, when a guy like Tom Brady decides to come back to Tampa, they're gonna be favorites. I mean, you talk about a guy like Jameis Winston, who's scared of him over there in New Orleans? Yeah, I know he was 5-2 in his first 7 games, but he had 10 more games to go. Who knows how he would have, then it was 6, it was 9 because it was 16 games. But I just think that when you think about this Falcons team, Terry Fontenot was brought in for a reason. They trust his expertise, they trust his knowledge, they trust what he brings to the table. I just think if Kayvon Thibodeau is there at 8, and I've seen crazy things happen, probably going to be more smoke and mirrors when it's all said and done, you get him. If Kyle Hamilton is there, you get him. But Kevin, the most intriguing position to draft every year is quarterback. Every single year, because I think what teams are doing is, if you get a first-round quarterback, they're no longer sitting. So the days of, Phillip Rivers, Aaron Rodgers, that's over with. Aaron Rodgers didn't play for like 3 years. Phillip Rivers didn't play for the first 2. I think if you got a guy that you say, okay, I know it's all about 2023. I know it's all about Bryce Young and CJ Stroud and so on and so forth, right? You're still going to have a Spencer Rattler next year and all these different guys. If I can get a guy this year, get him in my program, show him the ropes. Because we're not going to compete anyway. There ain't no rush to get that guy in there. If we're not going to compete, now you're not going to say that out loud. Arthur Smith is in no position to say we're not competing in 2022. But, Kevin, we know what it is. We can see it. If I can get a guy now that can fit the system, because it's all about the system. If we come into this system and Marcus Mariota and the team can show him this is how it is to be a pro, this is what you go ahead and get him. Because everybody that's going to get drafted in 2022, if they're not a quarterback, is going to have to contribute. They don't have a lot of guys in free agency. The guys they got have signed a bunch of one-year deals. Lorenzo Carter is the quote big defensive addition they've added. I don't even think might have a little bit over 12 career sacks in like 4 years. That's nothing against him. So I do think if you are the Falcons, if you can trade back and get more picks, you get him. Got the quarterback, you covered it, or the defensive end, you covered it, you get him. But if the Falcons get a receiver, while I understand it, I'm like, dude, because that receiver's growth is going to be stunted as well, because who's going to show that receiver the ropes? There is nobody on this currently constituted on this roster right now. Cordell Patterson, he's your most experienced offensive player, not named Kyle Pitts, is going into year 2. So I do think every option you got to make sure you turn over every stone, because the thing about the Falcons, they need so much. Because the one thing that's not being talked about enough, what do the Falcons do at offensive line? They need to retool that as well. And we are 3 years removed from having 2 guys in the first round at the offense, at the offensive line position.
Yeah, if I'm the Falcons, it's every possible. It was a thought, because I'd hate to give up a top 10 pick, because that's a guy that you would hope, right, is going to play. Because you say, well, if you move back, maybe you pick up a number 1 from somebody next year, you could have 2 first-round picks. then you're obviously playing 2 rookies. I understand staying and take because there's going to be somebody good at number 8. But I wonder about moving back and trying to pick up kind of, I think what kind of Jacksonville did a few years ago, not at number 1, but they moved back a couple of times and ended up, and I think you can see where it kind of set up for them this year. Don't the Jags have like 10 or 11 picks?
They got a lot
in this
and
year's
that's
draft?
what you want. That you want to build through the draft. And
to me, it would cut down on the margin of error a little bit if you have more guys to choose from and say, hey, we got 11 picks. If 8 of these guys work out, that's a really, really good draft.
Listen, if you got 11 picks, 8 guys work out, that is a hell of a draft. I mean, 8 of the guys, because I think what we don't realize about anything is, okay, if this is working for this team, that means it's not working for that team. It's working for this player. So the draft is a crapshoot. We don't know who's going to end up what. Like, I give you a name, and I know people like Jadeveon Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney was number 1 overall pick. Now, when Jadeveon Clowney is healthy, he's very, really, really, really good. Has Jadeveon Clowney been on what? I mean, he started out with Houston. I think he went to Seattle. I think right now, I think he's with Cleveland. He's been on a lot of teams, right? There's nothing wrong with Jadeveon Clowney. We just looked at what he was athletically and said, oh, that's going to be, dude, he's not going to a place to where he's going to be the most dominant. He's going to a place to where everybody dominates. These are the best players, not in college, in the world. So I think that sometimes, Kevin, when we get to think about these draft picks, we don't give them a shot based off, if Kyle Hamilton, big time stays out no name, if he goes to Atlanta, that means already in 2022, he's the face as far as like rookies. Well, he is only as good as those other 10 guys around him. And outside of A.J. Terrell, it ain't really a lot to go off of. He still got Grady Jarrett, Deion Jones. We'll see what Lorenzo Carter does, so on and so forth. So I think it's all about fit. Like, I mean, and I hate to say it, Gronk is incredible. Gronk has only caught a ball from one guy, Tom Brady. That matters. And I'm not saying Gronk ain't Gronk, but have you ever seen Gronk without Tom? So I just think that sometimes we don't give guys a true chance. In Atlanta, man, people are going to see this year just how many holes Matty Ice filled. He filled a lot of them because of how good he was as a player. It didn't show up in the wins column because he don't play defense. He don't tackle people. Like, he don't block. He throws. He tries. So I just think for Atlanta, if you know there's going to be a rebuild, you know it is. No matter what Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith says.
Well, they can't say it, but
they can't say that. How do you want to look rebuilding? Meaning, if this is going to be a race for easily second, maybe you might be scratching his cross because I've heard some words that Carolina might be the landing spot for Baker Mayfield, which puts you behind the 8 ball again. If he does go there, I just think that if you are Atlanta, you got to exercise every option because your best offensive player scored 1 touchdown.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but to me, outside of tight end and 1 corner, and Jake Matthews at left tackle, but
maybe a D tackle as great as
yeah, and maybe Jake Matthews. You literally, everybody's talking about this draft. You could draft anybody.
Yes.
Anybody. And when you go into a draft and people say, well, what are the needs? Well, you need a defensive end and you could use a running back. Okay, that's different than you literally need everything. Like I've seen, no, I'm serious though, Ben. I've seen draft, people do the draft breakdowns and their mock picks and all that, and they say the write-up for Atlanta. Atlanta could use one of everything. If they take an interior alignment, they could use it. If they take a linebacker, they won't do that obviously at 8. But I mean, when that is your philosophy, when that's not your philosophy, but that is the holes you were trying to fill. Where are my holes? We don't need a lot of special teams help, but everywhere you literally need everything. Why not take as many picks as possible? I know giving up the number 8 is tough, but if you move back into round 1, maybe you get a 1 for next year and get 2
for your advantage. Look, basically this is what's happening. Okay, all of us who got cars now, you know about the diagnostics, right? The newer your car is, when you get in your car, it'll send your diagnostics to your phone. Terry Fontenot drives Atlanta Falcon. That's what he drives. That's what it is. Now, he got in there. Now, when he pulled up, it looked nice. But when he got it, he got, what the hell wrong with this car? It's a lot of stuff going on. It's leaking so much. Listen, you can tell what your car is leaking when you drive off. Well, I don't know if that's all. I don't know if that's, antifreeze. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot going on with this Atlanta Falcon right now, as you mentioned, Kevin, because like I said, they need O-line. They need a running back. They need a receiver, right? They need a DN. They need a linebacker. They need a safety. They need another corner, right? They need a backup quarterback. right? They need a backup. And everything we saying, they need a backup for that. Every number one receiver needs to have a good enough number two, either out there with him or if he gets hurt. What happens if Marcus Mariota goes down? Uh-oh. That's what we don't get. What happens if Kyle Pitts get hurt? Uh-oh. Because you always need something more. You don't believe me? Kansas City, they had two of everything. But they also had Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes get hurt, it gets rough. So I just think for this Falcons team, like you mentioned, Kevin, it's so many needs, man. And Matty Ice, look, we always talk about how much Freddie Freeman, his contribution to the Braves, he didn't mean more to the Braves than freaking Matty Ice meant to the Falcons, man. Because Matty Ice has been saying, just give me a defense, man. Yeah. And he ain't never had one. So I think now, Kevin, with the Marcus Mariota, that's just to show, hey, man, we ain't trying to make this thing look too crazy. Marcus Mariota, established player, been to the league. I get it.
Terry Fontenot's driving that 2022 Atlanta Falcons, got one door on it.
No, this is what it is.
And the trunk won't open.
This is what it is. He saw it online, and the pictures look really nice.
Yeah.
What he didn't know was somebody let him borrow a door to take a picture
that
with.
That check engine light's been on for about 20,000 miles.
Listen. Now, but what he didn't read is all sales are final. Like you buy it as is, right? And the thing is, right, it looked good. Matter of fact, he went and purchased that door. I said, man, I want Terry Fontenot. He's coming from out of town. I don't want to scare him. But everybody knows you get a used car because, Falcons is used. It's used. You take it straight over to another mechanic because I can't trust y'all because y'all mechanic gonna do all the right things. I ain't know that battery been charged for like 2 days in a row. So I go straight to a dealership and they put on diagnostics. They go, and when you come in,
you need one everything, sir.
The guy that saw your car is on the phone. So you come in, man, I'm gonna call you back. Jerry, come here. And he pull out a stack of papers. He go, look, man, what you say was wrong with your car? I think it was just leaking some oil.
Yeah. It's leaking tires, wide receivers, and running backs, everything.
You don't want the Falcon, right? Yeah. You seen the Falcon in a while. Listen, man. Listen, I'm going to just be straight up with you. Running back, nope. Receivers, nope. Y'all just got some receivers, right? Yeah, the spark plugs y'all put, they already coming loose. Listen, man. Listen, I like that Marcus Mariota you got in there, but man, he needs some oil too. He needs some WD-42. So we'll see, but we're going to have to work with what we got.
We've got more to come here. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here. It is 3 and Out. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop. Thanks for making us a part of your day. We're talking about some draft. Our next guest is on his trek to make it into the National Football League. He's from out of McIntosh County Academy, former Valdosta State wide receiver who just compiled a fantastic senior season there for the Blazers en route to the national championship game. Brian Buzz Saunders joins us here on 3 and Out. Buzz, man, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, we appreciate you coming on and joining us. Talk about first, before we get towards what's next, your time at Valdosta State, man, because it was obviously a national championship. And then a couple years in, you had the COVID year that just disappeared to go into a national championship game last year.
Yeah, it was a good time at Valdosta. Unfortunately, my first year we went 5-4, but we changed things up in the spring of 2018, and we changed our mindsets, and we were able to go 14-0 and win the national championship. And then the next year, losing in the last 10 seconds in the second round to the defending national champions. That was tough. But that put a chip on our shoulder, and we wanted to take that going into the 2020 season, but unfortunately, COVID took it away. So I was actually en route to transfer. I lost all my eligibility at the Division I level because I'm a little older, so I played too many semesters. But God brought me back to Valdosta, and 12-2 season, went to the national championship. We didn't finish it the way that we wanted, but it's exactly how it was supposed to be. So
Brian, talk about the culture in Valdosta. I mean, not just obviously, you got Valdosta High. I mean, it's that whole city is just like a city of champions, but nothing like Valdosta State, man. Talk about the culture of Valdosta State, and you guys seemingly either you're playing for it or somebody got to beat you guys to play for it all.
Yeah, we believe in winning. We believe in competition. Our coaches, the two coaches that I was able to play under, they recruited the best of the best. I had guys who backed me up who were Ole Miss transfers, Cincinnati transfers, Missouri transfers. Like, we got big time guys, and that just, that built competition. And whenever you have competition across the board and you have one or two guys who can play that position at a high level and create depth, it's hard to beat a team with depth. We went into that game versus Ferris State, and they had six-year seniors on the front line. And that's crazy, because it's depth. So, at Valdosta, we created this culture a long time ago, to bring in the best guys, play the best guys, and never lack from that.
And you came out as the third leading receiver in school history there at Valdosta State, man. What is it like being in that offense, in that air raid? Because, going all the way back to how Mummy, when it started, moving forward, this is a program that's known for throwing the football. What's it like to be a guy in that system knowing, hey, I'm still going to get mine? There's enough to go around, it seems like.
Yeah, it's super fun. I play a role in this offense where I catch the ball on third downs. I try to make the big plays whenever it comes towards me. But, the air raid at Valdosta isn't like the air raid in 1996. We had three 1,000-yard rushers this year, 2 running backs and our quarterback. So we don't throw it as much as what people think we do, but whenever the ball is in the air, I'm fortunate that it finds me.
Now, Brian, you talking about you guys don't throw it as much. Talk about being that, understanding the opportunity. You said, listen, I'm a receiver. I know it's going to come to me and making plays. I'm just saying, 73 catches, 1,200 yards, 7 TDs. That's some big time opportunities right there, sir.
Oh yeah. But it just depends on the situation. Because if you look at the first 5 games of my senior season, I had 200 yards combined. That's it. I only touched the ball maybe 13 times, but it just started finding me in the last 8 games. We started playing different teams who had different schemes, and they would look at now LC, who had 400 yards in the first 5 games. Now they're doubling him, and I'm getting open. Now they're trying to stack the box because we have 3 guys who just rushed for 150 yards last game, and now, they have 1 guy on me, and I can get open. So it's really just playing that role and just knowing that the ball will come to you. And fortunately, like you said, it found me, a few times.
Buzz Saunders joining us here on 3 and Out, and talk about that 2020 season that just disappeared. You said you're kind of an older guy. What was going through your mind when they're like, yeah, Division II, man, we're just not playing?
Yeah, it's funny. I was with my best friend. He was also my quarterback, Rogan Wells. We were on the golf course whenever Coach Golf called us and said the season wasn't happening. So I had already graduated with my undergrad, and I considered going with my master's anyway for my last semester. So, I just thought of it as an opportunity to finish my school, get my degree for free and just stay an additional year. I wasn't really in a rush to go on with life. So I stayed the course, did schoolwork all the time as a 25-year-old. I didn't really want to. And I know everybody around me at my age, they were already starting families and, going on with their careers. I'm over here still being a college kid, but I saw it as an opportunity, to play the game that I love for one more time. And I took advantage of it, and it was nice. I'm happy I did it.
Buzz, how much farther along are you? Like, okay, we're getting ready for the 2022 NFL draft. If a team does decide to call your phone, I've always noticed the one thing, one stat that people don't understand, guys that graduate in college, they tend to have long careers in the NFL, not because necessarily they're better or worse players. It's just you've gone through, you finished both things you started. We all want to be great players, but you also was there to get the degree. Talk about just going through COVID year, getting your master's, getting your bachelor's, making you so I'm prepared in life, but I still want to finish out my, my athletic career.
Yeah, exactly. It did teach me a lot. I'm about to finish in May with my master's in public administration. And I've never thought about getting this degree, and I never was into, policies of the public, but I took it on. It taught me a lot. It taught me how to just, trust certain situations. I wasn't necessarily wanting to be there. I kind of wanted to go on with my life and go and make money, because I'm a college student and I'm struggling and, I'm a little older, so I don't want to be a struggling 25-year-old. It's different whenever you're 20 or 21, but now I'm around a bunch of people who are younger than me and they're struggling and they're okay with it. And I wasn't. So I don't know. I stayed the path with the degree. I knew that if they were going to pay for it, why not finish it? A master's takes you a long way in life. Just having that piece of paper. And not just that, my pops, my mom, they always taught me to finish things the right way. So I had to take 4 classes a semester to finish it, but so what? It's cool. So
yeah. Buzz Saunders joining us here on 3 and Out. And so what's next? Obviously, the NFL draft is out there. Have you had some conversations about potential options? Obviously, there's USFL. Is that something you want to keep exploring in the football side of things?
I think over the last month, I've definitely grown on the thought of playing USFL. My heart's in the NFL or the CFL. I wasn't necessarily even going to pursue playing football. I tore my hammy in the 3rd round of the playoffs. Unfortunately, I played in the national championship with it, but I didn't really recover until late February, early March. So I really wasn't training. I hadn't, reached out. I was going to go do a pro day at a few schools, but again, I didn't have an agent. I didn't have anything. So late February, I ended up creating a highlight reel, signing my agent. And there's been some conversations with some NFL teams and some CFL teams, but they've been pretty broad. I mean, they've been pretty, short. So I really don't know where. I don't know where it's going to take me. I'm hoping that one of the one of the teams sees my film. I dropped my highlight film the day before the Kennesaw State pro day, and my old coach called me that morning and said that 3 scouts wanted to see me there. Unfortunately, I was in Tampa and I didn't get to perform. But I feel like if somebody watches my film, they're going to be like, you know what, let's give this kid a chance. And, if I get on the right team, if I get on any team, I feel like I'm able to, I'm going to be able to ball.
Buzz, obviously you're a guy that got the full nuance of the route tree. Is there somebody, not somebody necessarily you compare yourself to? Is there somebody in the league you say, look, man, I see this dude's game. I see the way they use him. I think you put me in a system like that, I can go out there and thrive like he is.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of receivers like that. But whenever I watch somebody's game, I usually watch Devontae Adams. He's really good. He's really good at running routes. He's really good at getting open. And his mentality is insane. It's kind of like D-Hops as well. So I try to watch every single player. I don't necessarily, relate my game to somebody else's. People want to, compare me to Wes Welker and stuff because I'm a short and I'm a white slot receiver. But whenever I think of my game, I run good routes. I'm able to get open. I'm able to get separation. I don't necessarily compare it to anybody's game. I'll be honest.
Brian Saunders joining us here on 3 and Out. Brian, man, awesome having you on the show. Thanks so much. Best of luck to you moving forward. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a great day.
Yes, sir. Brian Buzzsons joining us here on 3 and Out, Valdosta State guy. So he's A+ in my book. Moving forward, and we appreciate him coming on the show. We got more to come. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. And we will talk Georgia football coming up Next hour, Graham Coffey will join us, and we'll talk about that Georgia spring game. Also, Gaurav Vidak will join us from Battery Power. They're on SB Nation, and we'll get his thoughts ahead of the big Braves Dodgers series and the Freddie Freeman reunion, as it were, between the Braves and Freddie coming up in this series. So a lot to digest. The Braves have had a lot of good to talk about, a lot of bad to talk about on their team. Dansby Swanson getting his name mentioned, Ben, in not good companies. Like, he is the second player since 1913 to have 3 seasons where he has struck out in each of the first 10 games. And I think Dansby leads the majors in strikeouts. Not good. And he's batting like 180 on top of that. So, there's a lot of things that could be. I mean, and the thing about it, I would look at, if I'm a Braves fan, it's like, hey, you're 5-6, and some of your starting pitching has not been very good, and a lot of your lineup has not been very good outside of 2-3 guys. So when that starts to even out, this team could really, really take off.
I think they will. Dansby management, obviously, Kevin. I mean, I always talk about plate appearances is one thing, quality plate appearances is everything. I mean, he's gonna have to shut his mind off. I mean, it's like a pitcher that can't throw strikes. I mean, when you're a hitter that you striking out a lot, that means you chasing a lot. And pitchers know this. I mean, because he's so desperate to get a hit, he's gonna chase ball, he's gonna chase pitches. But I just think the thing about baseball is it's such a long season. The hardest thing to do is when any baseball player is, listen, man. I mean, I'm down in the dumps right now. I mean, I'm not getting it done. I'm in a slump. You don't want to be in a slump. You got to work your way out of it. I mean, Snit looking at Dansby management going, look, come on, we got to work our way out of it. You're gonna play. I'm not gonna sit you because, Rosario got sat down.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say he won't, but I just think that when you think about baseball, I don't think the mental gymnastics that you got to go through game in and game out, plate appearance. Now, do you got your defense to kind of help you out? But your defense don't got nothing to do with your offense. You're gonna get 4 or 5 at bats a game. You got to go out there and get it done. I just think, listen, I was still impressed with this Braves team, though, to come out of that Padres series 5-6. Obviously one got away from him yesterday. You got a nice series with the Dodgers coming up. I just think if you are this Braves team, Kevin, yes, while Ronald Acuna Jr., which I look at the Braves report, I look at the Ronald Acuna Jr. report every day to see how close he is. They seem to be finding their stride. They're going to find it because I think once they do, though, the same way we're talking about how these other opposing pitchers are having their way with this lineup, and they're going to hate to see this lineup if they get going.
And the report on Ronald Acuna Jr. is he is set to start a rehab assignment with the Gwinnett Braves. And for just local relevance, the Gwinnett Braves are on the road this week, and they are playing anyone? The Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. So,
Jumbo
so on
Shrimp.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, chance I think maybe to see Ronald Acuna down there playing for the Gwinnett Stripers.
Incredible. Like to be able to say, man, that's Ronald Acuna. Yeah. And when he go young, look at it because it's out of there.
Maybe worth a trip down there just to watch
Absolutely.
him see how the full on report. This is what he looks like. He's coming back. So, but a lot of talk that, hey, if it goes well at Gwinnett, he could be back maybe by the first part of May, DHing at the very least. Which again, if he can hit the ball, we can worry about the defense later.
Oh, yeah.
Although the Braves outfield could use a little defensive help, we can worry about that later if you put 13 back in that lineup and add that powerful stick to what's going on there with Atlanta. We got so much to get to in the final hours. We mentioned Gaurav Vidak will join us. We'll talk Braves baseball with him. And when we come back, Graham Coffey will join us, and we will talk Georgia football and the spring game, how things turned up. Graham Coffey there with Dog Sports. He will join us on the flip side. This is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com. Love to hear from you on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. Also streaming on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Like our YouTube page at ESPN Coastal. Good to have you here, 3 and Out on this Monday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, glad you're with us. A lot to get to here this hour. Look at the Braves and that reunion with Freddie Freeman as the Dodgers roll up on the schedule. We'll talk with Gaurav Vidak, Battery Power on SB Nation about that coming up in just a little bit. But joining us here from University of Georgia with their spring game with Dog Sports, Graham Coffey joins us here on 3 and Out. Graham, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, we appreciate you coming on. And obviously the spring game, you can read into it, I guess, way too much or not enough, but it seems a lot of folks were attracted by just the fact of what Eric Gilbert was able to do. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was some game where he looked borderline unguardable, right? Nolan Smith is a guy that we've seen do a really good job in coverage as an outside linebacker, and he was faced with a position where it was like, I can either hold this guy or give up a touchdown. Just the size that he has going across the middle, really tough to defend. Kind of some of the things he did reminded me a little bit of your partner Ben there when he was at the University of Florida, just being big and imposing. But the thing I was probably most impressed with from Eric was the willingness and the ability on the blocking side of things. He really, really did a good job once I went back and watched the tape in some run situations and some pass protection situations where he was one-on-one with guys like Jalen Carter, who we know are very, very good pass rushers, really, really hard to block one-on-one, and he held his own. And I think that's probably the biggest indicator that we're going to see him on the field this fall.
Graham, how much did a guy like Eric Gilbert really, really need this spring, though? And when you look at everything he's gone through from LSU to trying to figure out where he's going to go, being on Georgia's campus last year, but trying to get everything handled in his personal life, to see everything he had to deal with in the offseason and to put it all aside to show, hey, man, the talent has always been there. Obviously, you would have loved to have seen him out there with Darnell Washington and obviously, and Brock Bowers. But how much did he need this spring, and how much did he show to potentially have this three-headed monster at tight end come to fall?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just routine and normalcy was a huge thing for him, and just giving him the opportunity to get back into that practice schedule, to get into that work with the teammates. When he rejoined the team, he was up around 300 pounds. He's down 270, 280 now, but there's, what he could be by the time we get to that Oregon game, Labor Day weekend, if he keeps dropping weight and working at the rate that he has been, is pretty scary, I think, for defensive coordinators across the SEC. But yeah, I think just if, the number one thing with Eric Gilbert that I think all of us care about is just him being a happy, healthy, and productive human being. And that structure that comes with spring practice and being a member of the football team actively and, being at workouts and meal times and all of that stuff. I think that's been really good for him and has allowed him to really kind of become part of that team and, develop some camaraderie with the guys there that he hadn't had the chance to do before.
Graham Coffey joining us here, dogsports.com. Graham, where are we here with the quarterback situation? I know spring game is not the end-all, be-all arbiter of where it looks, but after we have come through spring, where's the Georgia's mindset, obviously, as it stacks up behind Stetson Bennett?
Yeah, I think that Carson Beck is a clear number two. Just what we saw from him on Saturday versus what we saw from him last year's spring game or in the limited snaps that he took in 2021, he looks like a better quarterback. I was very impressed with his decision-making. I think it's, caveat that he was going against the second-team defense, but I thought when you kind of graded out both of their performances that Beck probably made more consistently good decisions than Stetson Bennett did. You never really saw Beck put the ball into any dangerous spots, and I was impressed with his accuracy downfield. There was a slot fade that was kind of a stop fade over on the sideline that he threw from the opposite hash to Dominic Blaylock there at the end of the first half, which it's a tough throw to make. It's a timing route. You got to have some touch on the ball. You've got to put it in there at the right angle, and he made some throws like that were, I think, a little bit of eyebrow raisers. The reality is Stetson Bennett, he's still the starting quarterback on this team. He just won a national title. He was top 4 in the FBS in passing efficiency, top 4 in the FBS in yards per attempt. Like, he was a very efficient quarterback for Georgia. I think so with Bex, you have maybe a little bit higher if we were ever to see him on the field.
Graham, when you think about a guy like Stetson Bennett, though, right? I mean, going into if all the accolades you just mentioned, coming off a national championship win, you talk about how efficient he was, you talk about top 5 in QBR, 30 touchdown passes, did it without George Pickens. I mean, dealing with injuries, it was him and an all freshman, all world, tight end Brock Bowers. Why is it that the Georgia faithful, and maybe I could be speaking out of turn, why does the Georgia faithful think we would be better off for so much if we had somebody not named Stetson? Because it's not just 2021, it's what he meant in 2020 and 2019.
I mean, that's a great question. I think it's
I think we may have lost Graham there. We'll try to get him back on the program and join us. So, Ben, that's an interesting thought there for Georgia fans. Again, and I guess it's just a matter of you always want the guy that's behind you at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I think what'll end up happening is, Kevin, and when you talk about a guy like Stetson, I mean, you get a chance to have a guy that, that's really, 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 really efficient with throwing the football. Really, really efficient with us understanding that, dude, I'm more than just like, a starting quarterback. Is what I mean to the team is me making everything go and kind of like him keeping everything structured. That second team QB is going to be interesting to watch. But Stetson has meant more than just what he's done on the field.
I think we have Graham Coffey back here with us. Graham, sorry, I think we lost you there for a minute. Welcome back.
Thanks. No worries. Yeah, to answer Ben's question on Stetson Bennett, I think it all mostly comes back to him being a walk-on, right? I think if he was a guy with a different recruiting pedigree or maybe a couple inches taller, we probably wouldn't have some of these conversations because the numbers are good and the performance is good. And, he was able to really efficiently lead that offense last year. But the flip side of that is, like we were talking about a moment ago, you go back and watch some of that film from Saturday, there are some spots where he pushes the ball into some windows that you don't want to see your incumbent starter pushing him into. There's some moments where he locks on to the primary receiver at the snap and just throws it kind of regardless of how open they are or not open, where you would like to. So I think it's a twofold answer. There's some people that just think Georgia in the modern era, the way they've recruited, should have a 5-star quarterback or a 4-star quarterback under center no matter what. And then I do think there's some people that maybe just look at the decision making at times and wish that he wouldn't push the ball into coverage over the middle quite as much as he did on Saturday.
Graham Coffey joining us here from dogsports.com. And then Graham, over to the defensive side where, again, probably there's no way they can live up to what that unit did last year. But who are some guys that you think really had a good spring and are going to fill in their roles really nicely at the end of the day?
Yeah, the guy that really popped off the screen for me on Saturday was Tyrion Ingram Dawkins. He's a redshirt freshman. We didn't see him last year. He dealt with some injuries at times. But, a guy who was a 3-star defensive tackle when he committed to Georgia and was a 5-star by the end of the cycle for his class. You're talking about athletic, quick, a 300-pound guy who was lining up on the edge at times and able to speed rush past Broderick Jones at left tackle and disrupt things in the backfield, and then lining up in the A gap and shooting in there and blowing up run plays. Seeing that out of him as a guy who really this is his first kind of full spring and has been in the program for less than a year now is exciting. I think that he's going to end up being on that list of highly drafted Georgia defensive linemen with Davis and Wyatt and all of those guys. But, yeah, I think that was the encouraging thing for Georgia fans, just to see another guy in the interior line to pair with Jalen Carter, because we know he's a stud. And the other spot that I was really looking at is three NFL guys in Dean, Kendall, and Quay Walker. Tresman Marshall had a great day. He did some nice things, delay blitzes, and when he had a chance to rush into the backfield, he was good. He was great diagnosing run plays. But where I was really most impressed with him was how he performed in pass coverage. A lot of times, young linebackers, that's kind of where they're going to look the shakiest. He did a really good job reading Stetson Bennett's eyes in certain situations. Had his hands on two balls that he could have picked the third pass off, picked the interception off of a deflection from David Daniel, the safety. So he just kind of was around the ball and everywhere. Jamon Dumas-Johnson and Jelon Walker were kind of the two inside linebacker names that I've been hearing the most buzz about in the spring. But Marshall's performance was really, really impressive. And I think, that should probably ease a little bit of anxiety for Georgia fans, knowing that you've got another guy at inside linebacker who looks like he can come in and, play the role. I think with what Georgia had on defense last year, there were so many things they could do schematically to protect the secondary and things they could do from a blitz standpoint that just nobody in college football can really do. I don't expect, Marshall and Dumas-Johnson and Walker to immediately be able to do those things, but I think that play the position and not be liabilities.
And speaking of a guy that decided to come back for his senior season, Nolan Smith, a guy that definitely made a huge impact last year on that historic Georgia defense. What do you see his role being in the fall? You talk about guys like Jalen Carter, who know is going to be a stud. I mean, different guys around, on that D line. Nolan Smith is a guy. I mean, in some publications, was the number one recruit. 4 years ago, decided to come back in senior season to be that headliner. How did he look in the spring, and how does he how is his role looking to be more intensive? Come the fall.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to your point, I think we're going to basically see him on the field. He's going to be a 3-down player for Georgia on defense this season. And the thing that I've heard the most about Nolan Smith this spring is just how he's really stepped into that leadership role with some of the guys who've departed. And you've got a new you have a new outside linebacker coach at Georgia, and he's been telling people that in practice, Nolan Smith and Robert Beal are getting to the young guys to help them correct mistakes before he can even get to them, which is what you want to see, right? Players leading players instead of coaches having to always kind of come in and correct everything. But on Saturday, we saw him get caught in coverage once on that Kendall Milton touchdown where Milton kind of came in that halfback seam route out of the backfield. But other than that, you saw him doing a lot of the same things you saw him do last year. He's around the ball. He's relentless with his pass rush. Got in the backfield for a couple sacks. It's tough to really judge sacks in the spring game, as you know, because these guys aren't allowed to hit the quarterback. But I think that he's primed to have another great year. But I think most importantly for Georgia in 2022 is just going to be that leadership and experience that he brings and kind of keeping the standard that was set by all those veterans on the 2021 defense.
Graham Coffey, dogsports.com, joining us. And Graham, you get the news that Amarius Mims coming back to Georgia. Late last week, he was, damping it up with Mike Norvell at Florida State. A couple days later, he's saying, no, I'm not transferring. I'm coming back to Georgia. How big is that, and what ultimately you think has led him to come back to Georgia?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's huge for Georgia, right? Like what I see it is kind of a culture win for UGA. That's he's the most highly recruited offensive tackle in the history of Georgia football, which is saying quite a lot. And he struggled with the de-recruitment phase, which a lot of guys. To the flow of things and really, being willing to compete and work hard and do the things coaches maybe wanted to see him do. And sometimes it's good to go and look around and realize that you're in the place that you you need to be and that you want to be. And I think it'll help him focus and really kind of channel the work ethic to go behind all the immense physical gifts that he has. But for Georgia, as far as, just how this year shakes out, I mean, I think if he really is in the right mind frame and dedicates himself and works very hard, he may end up being a guy that's in that first five on the offensive line. If not, he might kind of be that sixth man and sort of play the Ben Cleveland role that we saw for a while, where he's sort of rotating in and out in different situations. But for Georgia, I think it was a big win for Kirby Smart to, keep him without having to basically change, he didn't get any special treatment is what I'm trying to say, really, is just because of the stars behind his name or the height and weight on the sheet that comes with Mims. Like, no starting role was promised, and I think that will probably help Georgia down the line to kind of keep that standard and have those guys that are highly recruited coming into the program and realize, they're going to have to compete for a spot just like the 3-star guy does.
And Graham, finally, when you talk about being the end of the spring, obviously you got to see a guy like Eric Gilbert. You get a guy like Mims back on campus. Stetson Bennett is still the clear-cut number one. You got guys like Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith going to be headliners, in the fall. How would you assess this spring with a guy like Kirby Smart, for which they said coming off a national championship or coming off, say a 10-win season, you can't tell the difference in his approach?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the kind of player-led program thing that we were talking about earlier, Georgia has been fortunate enough to have some of these guys that decided to come back for their senior years, and guys like Jalen Carter, who are now about to be an upperclassman. Those guys have really stepped up and taken on more of a leadership role, and I think that's huge for Georgia. But I think it's one of those kind of things for UGA with Kirby Smart. It's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. The approach that he has taken has gotten them to this point, won them a national championship last year. And I think continuing to kind of run things like you're trying to get to the top of the mountain instead of acting like you're on the top of the mountain is probably the best way to stay there. What you saw out of Georgia on G-Day, at least for me, and what I expected to see, I thought you saw a little bit better looking football team than I expected to see at this point, especially on the offensive side. They were explosive. There's a lot of guys on the skill side that can do some exciting things. So I think they're probably a little bit ahead of schedule for where you might think they would be with what they lost and coming off a national title. But it seems like that there's kind of the right mindset in that program right now, where all these guys are watching the stars of that 2021 team, go to Indianapolis, have a great combine. They're about to be first-round draft picks in New York in a couple weeks. And I think they want to follow that same path to get to the same place. And so that's definitely helped, I think, kind of keep everybody's minds in the right places coming off a national title.
Graham Coffey, dogsports.com, our guest here on 3 and Out. Graham, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
Appreciate it. Graham Coffey joining us here. Dogs wrapping up spring, and again, looking like another team that's going to be tough to deal with in 2022, coming off the national championship. And sometimes people say, well, it's hard to go back, and it is, but you got a lot of talent, Ben, there in Athens.
Yeah, the one thing that Kirby Smart has really, really done outside of building that 5-star culture is he stockpiles. when you talk about Mims coming back, Kevin, that says a lot, because like you said, listen, we're going to do all we can to get you. We're not going to cater to you after we get you. If you don't want to be a part of this winning program, we're going to wish you the best. He went out there and saw that the grass isn't greener on the other side, so he decided to come back. I think it says a lot about Mims. It says even more about Kirby Smart is building in Athens. Yes, different year, same result. If you ain't Alabama, if you ain't Ohio State, maybe Clemson, it's going to be hard to beat them boys from Athens.
We got more to come here on this Monday. Gaurav Vidak will join us in about 15 minutes talking Braves baseballs. It's the Freddie reunion tonight with the Dodgers. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here. We'll talk with Gaurav Vidak. Battery Power on SB Nation. Talk some Braves baseball as the Freddie Reunion Tour sets up tonight for the Braves as they take on the Dodgers. Coming off a 2-2 series with San Diego, would be nothing better than to take 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, but it's Huascar Ynoa against Clayton Kershaw coming up a little bit later tonight. Ben, we're almost 10 days. We are 10 days away from the draft as, again, teams making their final preps. And again, the Falcons, we talked a little bit about them. The Jags, you've seen a little bit less movement in talks there. A lot of people think it's locked in. Write it in marker. Aiden Hutchinson, we've seen that really for weeks now. But I'm trying to think back the last few years in the draft, how much when it's been a guy that's going to be number one outside of Trevor Lawrence, which seemed to be pretty locked in, how often a guy that's been the pick for so long, actually, when it's not a quarterback, still comes to be true.
It's seldom, Kevin, because you know, just like I know, right? If somebody keeps saying the same name over and over and over and over and over and over again, people are gonna start taking interest. And this is the age of social media, aka mock drafts, aka opinions, aka 270 characters, and people are gonna break it down. And certain people, they know what they say holds weight. Now, Aiden Hutchinson, look, I think it's gonna be when I say the clear cut, that means that, you know, is he the best pick? I don't know. Is he the best player? I don't know. But I think when you look at what Jacksonville needs, once again, real similar to an Atlanta team, they address some things in the offseason with Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram. You know, they're going to get a healthy Travis Etienne this year. They're going to get stable, they're going to get a stable, head coach, Doug Peterson. You add a guy like Aiden Hutchinson to go along with a Josh Allen, because K'Lavon Chaisson, I mean, he's going to year 3. You know, he hasn't really been the guy they covered him to be coming out of LSU, kind of like a tweener. You know, undersized to be like an outside linebacker / defensive end and not really able to get past rush or stop the run. Aiden Hutchinson going to have a lot on his shoulders. But I think now, Kevin, I always say this. The 3 main things you need: quarterback first, guys that chase them second, and then a left tackle. Because you look at how much, these defensive ends are valued. A guy like Aiden Hutchinson, man, he came on strong in his senior year, definitely this year. If he can go out there and have, double-digit sacks, which is going to be the barometer for a first overall big, Kevin, I mean, I think he'll be just fine. But like I said, it's not Aiden Hutchinson's fault. I mean, I remember when, 2006, Mario Williams, North Carolina State. He's going to be number 1 overall pick. 6'6", 6'7", 290. Reggie Bush, number 2, and V.Y. the Legend, number 3. So, and like I said, Kevin, for every player that pans out, you got a bunch of players that don't. So if Aiden Hutchinson, and I'm not calling this, by the way, if he does go number 1 overall and he doesn't become a 100-sack guy, all first team All-Pro, people call people a bust. No, man. Sometimes I could just be a quality football player. Like, everybody's not going to be, quote, the face of the league. I just think that if a guy like Aiden Hutchinson, he got the size, he got the ability, he got the gifts, he got the brand, he got the look. Hopefully he'll be the pick come next Thursday. I should never trust my gut feelings on these things. I just feel like it's not going to be him. If it's not, right? I feel like this is not an okie doke, but it's like, who do you think it's going to be if it's not him? Think it's going to be Travon Walker? You think it's going to be? I mean, I think if it's not him, it will be Travon Walker or Evan. Because to me, I think that would be the ultimate okie doke. Because people. I mean, if you don't want to trade the pick, you say, "Hey, we're going Aiden Hutchinson," and people stop worrying about your pick, and it's like, okay, number 2, and maybe they're like, "Well, we feel pretty good. We're going to get, Evan Neal." Do we fall for this? Do we fall? And we're taking. Do we fall for this trap every year with the draft? No, but I mean, to me, I still think that would be a correct pick. If you're like, you got to get after the quarterback. How about you have a number 1 offensive lineman that's going to come in and play tackle to protect your number 1 quarterback? I would not have a problem with it. To me, if you go Aiden Hutchinson, you're like, well, we hope he could turn into a guy that's, I mean, you've said this. He better be a direct impact. Like we've had guys on the show, 9-10 sack guy, year number 1. Well, easier said than done. I remember a number 1 pick for the Falcons coming out of Clemson. Had a lot on the tape. And one year he did lead the league in sacks. The next year it took 6 games for him to get the first sack. And so very inconsistent. So I think if you're Jacksonville, to me, I'm going with the known commodity to protect my quarterback. That's just me. But again, that's my gut telling me that the Jags are saying defense, and they have no reason to really okie doke other than to kind of mess up some other people's thinking in a draft that, hey, Aiden Hutchinson's going to be gone.
we'll start thinking of the draft. Nope, okey doke it out. And then maybe you create some chaos below you in the draft because certain guys are now, or he's now available when a lot of people thought maybe he wouldn't be. So who knows? I know we keep hearing it. My gut tells me they're going to go a different direction. Based on nothing, but other than my gut.
No. Like, okay, if BJ was here, he'll go, oh, look at the number. The numbers tell the story. The numbers tell part of the story. The eye test has the matter, right? Aiden Hutchinson, was he impressive? Yeah. Does he have the prototypical size? Yeah. Does he have the explosiveness? Yeah. When people start saying, yeah, but I said, okay, now let's get to the part of the conversation we don't like. Let's get to the but part. But against elite competition, yeah, like Georgia, what happened? Well, that's gotta matter.
Bit, yeah.
So we'll see what happens, Kevin. But like I said, the number one overall pick, it should be, you say his name like Myles Garrett. He wasn't that good. Have you seen Myles Garrett since he's been in Cleveland? And I just the SEC can't be the barometer. I'm not saying that the Bosa brothers, the Chase Young, I get that part, but we'll see, Kevin. He's probably going to be the pick overall.
10 days out. We'll see what the Jags decide to do. We've got more to come. Gaurav Vidak joins us, Battery Power on SB Nation, talking Braves baseball next. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here. 3 and out. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, Braves and Dodgers on the West Coast. The big Freddie Freeman reunion here tonight. Joining us here on the program to talk about that and much more. Braves 5-6 here in the early going. Gaurav Vidak from SB Nation and Battery Power joining us here. Gaurav, welcome, man. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How's everyone doing on your side?
Hey, man, we're doing fantastic. For all the bad that has been with this Braves team, there's been a lot of good as well. Before we get to that, talk about tonight. Is this actually, Ben and I talked about this earlier, is this actually a good time for this to happen? Rather than the first Braves-Dodgers matchup to be in Atlanta, is this the salve to the wound for all the people who are mad at that Freddie Freeman being on the Dodgers, where it's like, look, here it is. You get to see it. He'll be in Atlanta 2 months from now. Get over it.
I absolutely love that line of thinking. Just get it out of the way. Let everyone talk about it on Twitter, on Facebook. Just get it out the way, and let's focus on baseball the rest of the season. I'm 100% for it. It's over on the West Coast. Everyone will get their hot takes out the way, and we can really focus on what's the important thing, and that's the game at hand.
And go on, when you think about a guy like Freddie Freeman, I mean, we act as if Freddie Freeman didn't give the Braves 12 years, the MVP, a World Series. I get the fact that you didn't want to see Freddie Freeman leave, but this is just business as usual. And you did get a guy in Matt Olson who is lighting it up right now.
Right now, it's essentially everybody wins. Freeman gets to go back home. Like you said, he had a fantastic career with Atlanta. He brought us a title. Couldn't be happier with how he was as a professional, representing the city, representing where I grew up from. And then you bring in someone like Matt Olson, who's leading the league in essentially everything right now. He's letting his bat do the talking. He doesn't want to be in the limelight. He's producing. Right now, as is, everybody's happy, and let's see if we can continue that way. It's going to hurt, when the Dodgers come into Atlanta, and I do see Freeman in a Dodger uniform, because I've been covering him back since he was in Rome. And so seeing him in a Dodger uniform is going to be really, really weird for me. But it's worked out for everybody. It seems like everyone involved on that level is happy, and it's really just fan expectations that are kind of getting in the way of things. But as is, it seems, like I said, everyone's happy. Everyone's happy on the team they are now, and let's see how the season plays out.
Gaurav Vidak joining us here on 3 and Out. And Gaurav, obviously, Matt Olson has been great, and the middle portion of the lineup has been good. But what's it going to take for the rest of these guys to kind of snap out of it? Dansby's been horrendous at the plate. Rosario's not been good. Alex Dickerson, I believe, is batting under 100. I mean, how do you get some of those guys back on track where we're coming up on 2 weeks into the season and some of these guys aren't even batting 100?
Yeah, that's really the tough part. What's going to help is definitely the return of Ronald Acuna, who's going to be back doing rehab games, I believe, tomorrow with AAA Gwinnett. So his return to the lineup is going to have a massive change. It's going to shift around a whole lot. So that's certainly going to help. But when it comes down to it, Dansby has to produce. Eddie Rosario have to produce. Those are two people that are going to be in the lineup pretty much the entire season, and the Braves are counting on him. It doesn't necessarily have to be, at elite levels, but they need to produce more towards their career norms, and they aren't doing so. It's tough because really with Alex Dickerson, you look at more of his advanced stats and you think, okay, he's getting really, really unlucky right now. And you think that's going to, by the law of averages, even out over time. But you look at Dansby Swanson, he's striking out almost 50%. And that's not who Dansby is. He's pressing right now. He's trying to figure things out. He's trying not to, be that void in the lineup, but things have to change. I don't know if that means that maybe he needs some time off to kind of slow things down and stop pressing. But as is, that the bottom third, it's not helping. You're seeing multiple opportunities with Duvall kind of in the middle of the lineup, getting on base and then staying on base to end innings. So as is, these guys have to produce more to their career norms. I don't know exactly what's causing them to, but when it comes to, I'm not really hesitant about Rosario. You think those numbers are going to normalize, but the Dansby Swanson strikeout rates are very, very concerning right now.
When you think about this, this lineup as a whole, I mean, this offense is really, really hot and cold. When they win a game, they can give you 5, 10, 12 runs. When they lose, they be struggling to get runs. What do you attribute that to? I mean, obviously we going to 12 or 11, 12 games into the season. You talk about Rosario, you talk about Swanson. What is it going to take to just get this entire lineup going? Because once they do, they're going to be one of the most fiercest, if not the most fiercest in the league.
Absolutely. Just like last year, it should be a top 3, top 4 offense in all the league. These guys just have to get it together. They have to start contributing. When you can only rely on runs, every couple of innings because it's the top half of your order, it's just not going to happen. We're having those big breakout games when you have 2, 3 run home runs, when you have multiple solo shots in one game. We're not seeing the Braves put together, significant, huge innings throughout a game, and that's why we're winning, 12-1, 12-2. It's just we need the bottom half of the lineup to produce more. The production with runners in scoring position has to improve, and like I said, it really comes down to Dansby and Eddie. They need to get more online or more in line with how they normally produce, because when you plug in Acuna, you most likely drop, Ozuna goes to DH, Acuna's out in the field, Dickerson goes more towards a bench bat, and he'd be a highly, highly sought after bench bat. That's he's being very lucky right now. He should produce at a very good level. But when you add in Acuna, that lineup does get a lot more lengthy. We just need Rosario, Dansby. They have to get their act together. Dansby cannot be striking out at almost 45% of the at-bats, because not only is he not producing, he's not even moving runners over. He's not doing anything. So really the bottom of the lineup is a huge void, and those two have to turn things around for us to get a more consistent approach at the plate and more in line with what we expect from this Braves offense.
Gaurav Vidak joining us here, Battery Power on SB Nation. Talking some Braves baseball here. And Gaurav, I know a couple of guys that you've seen come through the Braves organization rather quickly is Bryce Elder and Spencer Strider. And last night they both pitched pretty good. I know you look at Elder's line and go, that wasn't all that great, but pitched himself out of trouble, something we've seen a lot of Braves pitchers in the past that have come up, get their chance, and that turns into a 4 or 5 run inning, was able to get out of it. How do you look at those two guys? Are they here to stay, given early struggles from Manoah? We'll see how he bounces back tonight. I mean, what's your early take on these two guys that were in A-ball, just a season ago?
Absolutely. I think when you see with Elder, what happened yesterday is not normal for him. He will have he's not a huge bad control guy, so you don't expect him to have those walks and hit by pitches that he had yesterday. But his ability to work out of those situations is exactly what you've seen through his career at Texas and then in the minor league. He is a guy that he's great pitch ability. He knows how to pitch. He's not just a thrower, and I don't see him going down anytime soon. I could see a very lengthy career. He's a kind of a number 4 starter that puts in, 160, 180 innings, close to a 3.7 to 4 ERA, incredibly valuable for a team. Spencer Strider, it really depends on what role they want to go in. Right now, he's got 2 elite pitches with his fastball and his slider. They are absolutely elite. They are MLB ready. He can be an elite reliever as is. If they want to move him to a more traditional starting pitching role, he has that changeup, but it's not quite there yet. And you want to have that third pitch to be a more complete starting pitcher. So it really depends on how the Braves want to go through this season. If Kyle Wright is as strong as he is and maintains this level of play, if Ian Anderson continues to play at the level he is from the last start, and if Bryce Elder continues to do what he normally does, then you very well could see Strider staying in the bullpen right now, and you get an even more elite bullpen arm to shore up the bullpen, which would absolutely be ridiculous.
I mean, speaking of that bullpen, I mean, obviously going into this season, I mean, you look at the moves that, Alex Anthopoulos did. I mean, I know that Jansen is still relatively new, to this Braves team, even though he talked about how, he grew out. I know that Olsen is a Atlanta faithful. I mean, Atlanta native. He said that growing up, being from Carousel, a guy like Andrew Jones, he grew up a Braves fan as well. So you got 2 guys that grew up a Braves fan, even though they total different sides of the world. Talk about what you like from Jansen, and how do you see him getting more and more stronger for this bullpen down the stretch?
The more he gets comfortable in a Braves uniform, the only thing that's better for the Braves itself. He's an elite closer for a very long time. His numbers from last year were a big step up from the year before. He's a mainly 2-pitch pitcher. He should the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th innings for any game when the Braves have a lead, they should win. And that is just preposterous to even think about. To have that kind of depth and those kind of elite arms in the back end, to be able to make a claim like that is just ridiculous. So I could, as the season progresses and we get a few more tighter games and this Braves offense starts to contribute a little more, because you don't expect Rosario to hit sub 100. You don't expect Dansby to strike out 40%. These numbers are going to improve, and then you add in Ronald Acuna. You have an offense that's going to be scoring potentially 4 to 5.5 runs per game. A starting four rotation that should keep you under 3 runs a game, and then a bullpen that, by all accounts, at any given day could put together 4 to 5 scoreless innings. So like the amount of depth in the bullpen itself cannot be understated. This team is built to win over time, and while it may not be showing right now, by the end of the season we should still be talking about a Braves that are in first place, talking about another division title and a run towards a potential another World Series.
Gaurav Vidak joining us here, Battery Power on SB Nation. And finally, Gaurav, obviously this is going to be an emotional series for the Braves going up against Freddie Freeman. To me, also a very early litmus test to kind of what your team looks like stacked up against the Dodgers, who many people project are going to be right there with you for the potential World Series representation. What are you looking for out of these next 3 games? Are you looking for 2-1? Is it just be competitive? What are you looking for here against the Dodgers these next 3 days?
I always go in with wanting a sweep, but really, since it's so early, like you said, it's a great matchup. These are the 2 best teams in the league, just bar none. I can't really think of any other team that comes close to the overall structure and the way these 2 teams are built. If you can go into LA and take 2 on the road against that team, that's a win. That's a huge win. No matter what happened in San Diego, despite losing 2-1 last night and splitting that series, that West Coast trip automatically becomes successful because that Dodgers team is stacked. They're the length of their lineup 1 through 9, and then including their bench. Their bench has players that are starting caliber, right? So if you can go into LA to take 2 of 3 with the added incentive of Kenley returning to LA, with Freddie returning against the team that he grew up, playing for, that's an extremely successful series. And the main thing that I'm looking for is I want to see Eddie Rosario and Dansby Swanson start to turn things around, start to make more contact. You don't have to hit, just show that you're getting things together, because it's a process that takes time. Just show that these results are starting to come in the form of hard contact. I think that's really the biggest thing that you could ask for.
Gaurav Vidak joining us here on 3 and Out. Gaurav, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Appreciate you guys having me on.
Gaurav Vidak joining us here on 3 and Out. Braves and Dodgers coming up tonight. Going to be a lot of emotions in the building. Kenley Jansen, Freddie Freeman going up against their former teams. We got more to come. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Great to be here with you on this Monday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, glad you are with us. Coming up later tonight, Braves and Dodgers. A lot of people looking forward to this one, not only because the two teams are excellent, but because Freddie Freeman, Kenley Jansen going up against their old teams. Of course, you'll have the Matt Olson, Freddie Freeman. They'll get to chat with each other if one of them gets on. Of course, Dansby, spring training going, oh, there's his lockers. He's got a lot of love for Freddie Freeman. So we'll see. Like I said, we'll see what happens. Here tonight, I'm looking forward to. We got about 30 seconds.
Jansen, Freddie Free. Listen, bump all that. Rosario, Dansby Mansby, get a hit.
Just do something. Just do something at the end of the day. It will make us happy. It'll be Huascar and Noah against Clayton Kershaw. So, yeah, got an uphill climb right there just off the pitching matchup. We'll see what the Braves can do. We'll talk about it tomorrow here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network, streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com.